probably with, I don't know, 8 or 9 people in the past 6 months. I think people are just realizing, you know what? I can't rely on a cop getting here in 8 minutes or 11 minutes. I have somebody tried to
Well, look what
carjack
those
me
guys
right.
in New York did.
Yes,
They
exactly.
beat the heck out of a cop. It's like, and then flip the finger at everybody.
I
Kind of like,
know.
yeah, whatever.
And they let him out without any bond or anything. And apparently they got on a bus and they say they went to California. I try to make it more dramatic by just saying, so do we have any indication as to whether they came to Colorado Springs or they came to Denver and then came to Colorado Springs? Are these 6 guys walking around out here? Nobody can
Well,
answer.
I read they caught 3 of them in Phoenix this morning and arrested them.
My daughter just came back from Phoenix. I mean, that's what bothers me. It's not an
Yeah.
abstraction. My daughter and her boyfriend, she was out there to visit a medical school. They flew back yesterday after, well, evening, I guess. And yeah, it's a huge city. What are the chances of them running into her? I don't know. It's not zero. I mean,
No, but they clearly have no authority for the law. So,
and I guarantee you, because I heard from somebody that these guys had been criminals in Venezuela before they came here. And I'm like, well, then they never should have been able to come here. I
I
don't know.
heard they were ditching their passports at the border crossing because they're not making them identify themselves.
Can you think of, I mean, I saw some video a day or two ago, and I think it was in California. All of these people had maps as to how to come up through Venezuela, Central America, Mexico, and to come to this exact spot on the wall where the border wall actually stopped there, and there was supposed to be, because it was an outcropping of rocks and it went up, so they had that filled in. I don't know, somehow. And since Trump was gone, they took that out, and all you have to do is just walk up and walk around the end of the fence.
Yeah.
And the video I saw, about 8 or 10 people coming through. And then you see somebody in the background. He's got his face covered. He's all in black. He's probably a cartel person. And he's just waving to them like, see ya. And I'll have some more back for you tomorrow or whatever. I don't
I'm
know.
playing around with lighting, get it right. Okay. I don't like that pixelation behind me. I don't know if that's from the light or what. Nope. Okay. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I think we have a good show today. Kind of
I don't think
excited.
you've ever had a bad show.
I
Just
like
say
coming up with new stuff
you do.
because I don't want to sound like a broken record.
I don't,
But
sometimes you repeat things, down the road or whatever, but not, I mean, you've always got, I would say, usually, if anything, it's just a portion, small portion of the show.
It's maybe
yeah,
one segment, but
Exactly.
it's stated in a different way, so it kind
Exactly.
of
Yeah,
it sounds fresh.
I do. I think so. And plus, I don't, like I said, I don't think, maybe on podcasts they do, but the average person is not out there comparing one week to the next and next. And especially if it's like David said, it's reworded. I don't
yeah,
know.
I get a lot of listeners though. People I meet with are telling me, "I heard your show."
There
I'm
you
so
go. I love it.
so-
I don't know. This is no time, and I say it on the live reads. I mean, this is no time to have somebody learning how to do this on your home and on your biggest investment. I hope everybody has a great career, but you're not going to learn. You've done 3 homes, you got a real estate license, and I'm supposed to let you take care of my biggest investment. No,
This is
thank
not
you.
like getting me a cheeseburger.
Exactly right.
yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm ready. I don't want
All
to make
right.
you guys too terribly late. I was a little late because I worked late last night, and
Uh,
sometimes my brain is more fresh to prepare in the morning.
My 1 o'clock session canceled, so we're good.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because I normally I'll try to write the show on a Sunday, but this Sunday I had a lot of sellers to update because her house isn't selling at that price. And I do videos for them. I have this software I use called Loom. It's pretty neat. It's kind of like a web browser where you can make a little circle of your head and you're talking to them personally, and I'll show them on my computer what's selling, what's not selling, what the stats are, you know, how the competition looks, that kind of stuff, and send them a little short video of an update and make my recommendations. And it takes time, but the first one I did on Sunday, that was in between trying to get my truck unstuck. I broke my truck.
Did you really?
Well, we have a very long driveway.
Right.
And Mark put up the sticks on the right side where there's a tall drop off. But I
Right.
was almost at the end, but there was so much snow, you couldn't see where the edge was. And one tire went off, and then the other back one went off, and then I
Dang.
couldn't get back on. And my tires, they need to go. They're done. But it only takes about a year. I go through tires in about a year because of where I drive and how much I drive. But anyway, I went off the edge of the driveway. I kept spinning, trying to get back on. He tried to pull me with his little Jeep, and that didn't work. And then we kind of parked it and put a chain on it on Saturday, tried again on Sunday. And all of a sudden we hear this thunk, and I don't know what it was. I broke something. So it
And
needs
you
to be
guys had a lot. I mean, you guys had a lot of snow up there. I think somebody told me that they had like 16 inches in Castle Rock.
14 inches here.
Dang.
Easy. It was a lot. And it's
Yeah.
kind of slushy, it's hard to get traction in it. And I went out, I had a listing appointment on Saturday. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll tough it out. We have another vehicle I use that has better tires. And just went really, really slow and didn't go, I didn't go down 83 because that was probably a mess. So I just tried to take more traveled routes and took some extra time. And I got there on time. But while I was in the house, 2.5 hours usually is what it takes me to do this whole spiel.
Right.
And get documents signed. It piled up like 6 inches on top of that truck.
Wow.
Just in those 2-3 hours. I mean, it was coming down in buckets.
I feel bad because I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. So I just like, okay, well, and I was supposed to, I have another property that's vacant, and I promised him, we'll take care of the sidewalk and shovel because he's in Wisconsin. I was going to go there, but when I got my truck off, I didn't make it. I don't think the buyers came anyway. So that's another thing I had to go do on Sundays, clear off a walkway on this long driveway and this whole sidewalk, which he had about 8 inches, 8 to 10.
Gosh, dang.
So I got my workout in now.
You know what? Here's the thing. I always talk about how good you are, every type of marketing and all the rest. And you work so hard for your clients and stuff. I didn't even understand that you worked that hard to do all of that. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have this thing where, if it's snowing like that, I'm just going to cancel appointments. But people are busy. So if I can get there, I'm going to get there. Just try to be careful when I'm driving, but there was one time where I showed homes in a blizzard. Now that's just dumb. I won't do that again.
I have to say, well, that, I think we all learned.
Yeah.
We all learned from that.
Okay. Well, the first one, I kind of have almost like a routine. I feel like I'm a little kid. You know how little kids like routines?
Right. I do too.
They like to see consistency in the way you do your show.
Yep.
So my first segment is all about the stats, basically, and where the market's going. And then I get into the other subjects from there. So I try to keep it somewhat consistent without being redundant. But anyway.
And last week, I think you did it in your second segment instead of the first. So it varies a little bit.
Yeah, I keep it kind of depends on what I'm talking about. Okay, well, I am ready.
I'll start us off there.
Oh, wait, hold on. No, not. Let's see. I need a clock.
That is the easiest thing to forget. I have to tell you, last week we started doing one and I counted us down. I had my clock up twice. I counted this down and I thought I hit restart, and apparently I didn't. So I was like 4 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, I'll just have the two of you figure out exactly what it is.
All right, I'm ready now.
All right. This time I'll actually count this down in three, three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate, and it does it with Colorado's real estate authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is a retired Navy. I'm sorry. You know what? I got some insurance issues, so I am still waiting to have some work done.
No fun.
Makes it hard to pronounce some things. Sorry. Barb is a retired Navy veteran. She is an author, she's a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or you can search Barb, find it on most of the podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, etc. So, Barb, what are we going to be talking about today? Fewer people bought homes in 2023 due to higher interest rates and low inventory. What are you seeing in the real estate market in early 2024?
Well, it's kind of all over the place right now, Richard, and it's very much interest rate driven. So, right before Christmas, the rates dropped from just over 7 down into the kind of just above 6.5. That's for conventional. And then, of course, for VA, you can drop another half a point below that. But then just last week, it went back up to 6.9, and for one little day, it went to 6.6, and now we're back over 7 again. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of how does that impact the number of sales and the buyers' affordability and willing to go out and buy homes. And also, the next topic we're going to cover is how to prevent squatters from moving into your home, especially if you have a vacant home. It's a real problem right now, especially in this environment. And then we're going to talk about what buyers want in a home. So a couple weeks ago, I covered what millennials want in a home. And actually, one of my little videos, I got a bunch of views and a bunch of comments. It was kind of cute. But we'll go into a little bit more detail on that, on what buyers in general want in a home. And the last topic is, how do you know what your home is going to sell for? And as always, I love covering our hot new listings. Richard?
He had to step out to the restroom.
Okay. No worries. I will pause.
I could just record him after.
It's all right. I'm not in a rush.
Okay.
What were you guys talking about this morning on the show?
I meant to get an energy drink before we started, and I'm like, really need that. And I'm like, okay. I had a feeling when I was walking out that you were going to ask me a question or something. I should have. There we are.
That's all right.
So what did you ask me or comment to me?
Oh,
Hey,
I was just
did you just
chatting.
walk out of the room to get an energy drink?
I wanted to know what you guys talked about on your show this morning.
Oh, illegal immigration. I talked about here locally with the mayor and, people talking about busloads of people coming down here. And it hasn't been in the news yet, but I got a audio recording of a voicemail that person called up from Salvation Army and called the mayor who was out of town and left a voicemail. And the voicemail shows that when the mayor made his statement and when he was on with Jim Arthur and did these interviews, he wasn't being completely candid about what he knew and communications between him and Salvation Army and stuff. And one of the things was the person from Salvation Army said, you know what? When we have a bus like this come down, we're pretty much filled inside the shelter. So we have to move people who were in the shelter because they live here and they're homeless. We have to move them out of the shelter to make room for the people, the migrants. They don't say whether they're legal or not, but the migrants who've been bussed down here. And I'm like, it just torques me off. I'm like, so the people, lived here, they're having a hard time or whatever. And, but they're part of these homeless people are part of our community.
And they're
And
US citizens.
yeah,
That's
and
the
you
thing
guys
that
were
drives me
supposed to
nuts.
be looking out for us. No, instead,
Um,
you say, whatever, we have to look out for these people who we have no idea. They have no vetting. You have no idea whether they're here legally or not.
I wonder if they're getting money for this.
No, they are, Barb. Catholic Charities in the past couple of years, I think the number is $2.9 billion from the federal government. And some people have told me, you know what, this is just like a scam to get money from the government. And they do all this other stuff over here. But is it really because they have the heart of Christ, or is it no, you get tons of money?
Wow.
Uh,
Crazy. Need to carry a gun. We got our cameras we're going to put up.
yes.
So, I mean, it's very scary. So, okay. So I finished kind of the summary of the 4 segments, and I went Richard, and then
My
so
mistake. You know what? I marked it up and I wasn't sure if I was supposed to go to the summary or not. So I'll pick it up there when you finish the summary. And now I'm supposed to say, Barb, as fewer people bought homes in 2023 due to the higher interest rates and this low inventory environment, what are you seeing in the real estate market in early 2024?
well, Richard, according to the National Association of Realtors, the existing homes sales were the lowest in 28 years. And that was really all about interest rate. It topped at 8.06% back in October. It dipped down a couple of times right before Christmas. And then about a week ago, it dipped down into the mid sixes. But home prices really didn't decrease. The only change in the market that we've been seeing actually is that the days on market for a home sitting on the market has more than doubled, but the prices are still going up no matter where the interest rates are going. So it's kind of really interesting. As an example, I looked at the inventory going back in February of 2023 of available homes in the Colorado Springs area as compared to right now, and it's almost identical. So inventory tends to get lower this time of year, and it'll stay low all the way through May, late May, and then it'll start picking up again. So as far as a good time to sell your home, this is a great time starting into the next couple of months. And part of the reason is a lot of the military folks get their orders in April and they start looking right away, and many of them start writing offers on properties right away. So most buy in April, May, but most sellers wait until the summer to put their house on the market. And by then, the military surge has already happened. So that's why we see inventory kind of go up. But I found a chart on one of these national blogs about when's the best time of year in order to get more money when you sell your home. And the thing that was interesting to me, that it was basically March, April, May, some in June, very small in July. You actually go backwards a little bit, August and September. And then you start getting more money again into the fall, which is really interesting. So I think it's very much inventory driven versus, the rates, because the rates are probably going to be pretty stable according to what all the news bloggers are saying about the Fed and his promise to not increase rates anymore, but he's not going to decrease them either. So just in the past month, we have seen the median price tick up about $10,000, which is amazing to me that it went up that much. And my super secret data source that I look at has a term they use called the Market Action Index. and it's hovering right around 40. And basically what it means is that if there is an upward trend in sales relative to inventory, we expect the prices to go up. So what we saw last year was that from February through June, the prices went up. However, at that time, the rates were more like in the low sixes. So I think that there's actually going to be a little bit of softening going on in the next month or so until we see that increased demand from the military. The average median list price is kind of an indication of where prices are heading, indicates that those prices are actually going up. And so as you see increased inventory, there is an opportunity for more sales, but not so much so that there isn't a balance between buyers and sellers. So what we're seeing right now is the median price of new listings is ticking back up again early 2024. I also pulled some statistics for just the county, not just Colorado Springs, but there's different parts of the county that integrate other places. And they indicated it's a little bit more of a seller's advantage. The median list price is about 539,000. But this is the big surprise to me. So last year about this time, the average days on market was probably hovering around 40 days. Now it's 107. That's a long time. Now we are looking backwards at a period in the fall where the rates ticked up over 8%, and that created all kinds of demand destruction. So I kind of predict that average days on market number will come down into the next couple of months. And it's absolutely key when you put your home on the market, you need to get all of the 4 P's absolutely right. Number one, preparing your home for sale. And we're going to do a segment today where we talk about what home buyers want. And we'll give you some clues on what to do to get your house ready for sale. Picking the right agent, that's absolutely critical. There's a lot of agents. In fact, I think the numbers are 81% of the front range agents sell 3 or less homes a year, and half of those don't sell any. So if you want somebody to handle one of your largest assets, are you really going to hire an agent that doesn't sell anything? I mean, how is that going to help you? Pricing it right is really some proprietary data that I think home sellers really want to know. And they want somebody that's an expert that can help them price their home competitively so it does sell. And of course, promotion is critical too, because we know most of the buyers are going to eliminate homes based on the online presentation. So you have to get that right. And that means hiring the agent that knows how to get that right. So you can go on my website anytime, barbhasthebuyers.com, and download my free reports. Just click on the free reports button. The free report I'm featuring today is the 7 top tips to get your house ready to sell for top dollar. You could download that for free right on barbhasthebuyers.com. And I believe because the rates are still a little bit leaning high, if you are selling a home right now, it's the best thing to be priced what I call very realistically versus optimistically. Otherwise, your home is going to sit on the market. Let me give you an example. I just put a home under contract up in the North County, and we looked at similar sales. We decided on pricing up front, and I believe the sellers priced very realistically. We had a good amount of showings, probably over 30, even across the Christmas break and January. And we finally get an offer, and the agent calls me and warns me, this is going to be a low offer. This home is dated and it has popcorn ceilings and wah, 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 like the basement carpet, while pretty new, it was very colorful and kind of whimsical in this patchwork of colors. And so I don't know if it was a strategy or what my seller called a game to try to encourage the seller to maybe give them a price in the middle, but they offered $35,000 less than asking price, which is a pretty big number in any price range,
I think.
Yeah. So what I did was I did some deep dive and took a look at similar sales that had recently sold that had the same level of updating. And what I found was those homes actually sold for more than our current asking price. And the ones that were completely updated, you'd have to go up another $50,000 above where they were priced. So all I did was print out the full copy of that, attached it to our response, and the seller countered very reasonably, and they signed it within minutes. So it's very important that you price it right. And if the buyer's agent doesn't think it's priced right, you have to prove it to them, because not every agent is going to do the research that, say, I would do in order to deal with that challenge. And the other challenge is the sellers. They get really offended at getting a low ball offer. Would you, Richard?
I would absolutely be offended. And what bothers me is if somebody doesn't have you looking out for them, they have somebody else who hasn't sold many homes or whatever and don't have the experience, who knows what they would do and how they would react to that.
Yeah, most agents are just, this is what a millennial said in an article, that most agents are just messengers. You
Yeah.
want somebody fighting in your camp. But I also had to work on the seller to try to pull them off the ceiling of being upset and offended and say, don't be offended. It's a game. They're fishing for the middle. Don't worry. I got you covered. And we got it under contract at a price that they're very comfortable with. So, my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and I'm also the host of the show, Your Real Estate Voice. And what we're talking about is how the Colorado Springs real estate market is kind of showing a little bit of signs of weakness, and kind of what the trend is going to be going into the rest of the spring. And next up, we're going to talk about how you can position your home to sell even in an uncertain mortgage rate environment. If you are thinking of making a move, one of the things that we offer is a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale. We'll go over all the closing costs. We'll share some of our 27,815 buyers that would be a high match for your home, and give you a good idea on what your home will sell for. That consultation is free and no obligation. So just give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the current real estate market. You are always on top of it. You do a lot of sales every year, and you know how the prices are heating up or cooling off. It does not appear that the prices will be dropping anytime soon. So, what can young home buyers do to get into home these days?
Well, first of all, there's a growing population of younger buyers, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y are the millennials, basically. And for them, it's all about affordability and payment. And then most of the sellers are actually the baby boomer generation. So what I tell buyers is, hey, don't wait for prices to fall. It's just not happening. Just get yourself ready. Make sure you have some extra cash resources when you buy a home, or get help from family members for your down payment. You can accept a gift in pretty much any loan program for if you need to put a bigger down payment, or set aside some money to buy down your interest rate to make the payment more affordable. There's a lot of household formations going on right now in the country, 45.5 million. So it's a big population and they need housing. And since the mortgage rates have ticked up, you just have to be prepared for that and have some cash reserves in order to deal with that. So what happened recently is we got strong economic data, we got strong job growth, and as a result, the rates are now 0.4% higher than what they were a month ago, and they're 1% higher than they were a year ago. So as of this recording, the 30-year fixed conventional 7.04, VA is 6.3. And so what does a home seller do in this market? Well, I think the most critical thing besides the preparation, pick the right team to help you and make sure you price your home realistically versus optimistically. And don't rely on, don't be surprised if the buyer comes in and asks you to cover some of your loan closing costs. Don't worry about it. We can negotiate that, maybe go up in price, that kind of thing. But it's always important to have somebody that gives you really good education about what's going on in the market, so you can make good decisions about selling your home. And we do that week after week, many times in a week. And you could call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
That's Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program and the owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how to keep squatters from moving into your home. All right.
Okay. Did we go too long?
I don't know, since I
Just
looked
a
out on my
touch.
clock and,
Just a touch. We're fine.
Okay, thank you. I kept looking at the clock going, oh my God.
okay. I really do drill down a lot on your experience. And, I can't imagine taking your biggest investment and you're going to let somebody learn how to do real estate marketing and negotiating on your home, on the value that you put into your home. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's probably why we're seeing a drop in the number of people that have licenses right now. Yeah.
And I love that you're doing squatters, because actually a couple of times the past week or two, I said, Barb's got the experience to make sure that you don't fall into some of these things like squatters or all kinds of, problems with the people who lived there before. This is perfect timing. All right, let me get a new clock here.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, and I don't, before we start recording this part, I'm thinking about adding a service, an optional service that if they have to sell the home vacant, that we put up some blink cameras and they will maintain Wi-Fi access
Nice.
during that time.
Nice.
Some of the blink cameras turn a light on.
Yep.
I think it could help, but man, it's just the squatters have too many rights. I think this state's turning into California as far as the laws are concerned.
You know what? We've talked about having you on the program. Let me know if there's a day this week that would work for you to, you don't have to come to the studio. You can if you want, but
Okay.
my producer wants to keep no segment longer than, no interview or whatever longer than one segment. So that'd be, about 12 minutes or whatever. But
Right.
I think whether you want to talk about squatters or, we talked before about, the credit thing. I just think, it'd be good. I don't know how frequently, maybe once a month or something, but to start giving people a good idea of just how much you know
I
and
think
how
at
much you
least
can
once
help.
a quarter.
Yeah, at least
Probably.
once a
Yeah.
year, probably. Yeah,
That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to.
Keep it
I
fresh.
know you get some snarky comments. Well, she's marketing,
Well, whatever. I'll tell you what, anybody ever says that to me, and I'm going to tell them, guess what? You know what? I really do believe in this woman. And I believe every time I sit down with her and we do a show for the weekend, she's the host, and she tells me something that I think people who are buying or especially selling really need to know. And people are concerned about squatters. So what? She's the most qualified person I know to talk about this in Colorado. I'm supposed
But
to.
let's not have her on.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have her on. It's just counterintuitive. I'm not, if you think I'm going to apologize for her coming on my show and telling young people, how to get their credit in order, or telling people how to make sure they don't have people living in their house when they're selling it or whatever. No, I'm not going to ignore that. That's
Right.
crazy. So anyway, we'll stay in touch and you can just let me know, you know what, I think this would work. I think this would work, whatever. Because
Okay.
I want to do it. All right. I got a clock here. How about you?
And I kind of loaded this with a question, Richard. I
Okay.
put it on you. Now you can edit this if you want, but I basically said, especially since the border's open and 8 million illegal immigrants have come across the border.
Yep.
Are you okay with saying that?
Absolutely.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I
Nope.
didn't know if it's politically sensitive.
No, you know what? It's the truth. And I think that is one of your strengths and my strength, honestly, is we don't beat around the bush. What you see is what you get. And
Yeah.
we're not going to song and dance around this. It's an issue.
That, and you're
Yes.
allowed to have an opinion because you're a talk show host,
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
not a news reporter.
You
Yeah,
got
I
it.
just didn't know like how the station feels about it. If you have to use a certain word, like if you have to use migrants, but to me, They're criminals. They're illegal aliens
They
for,
are. And I always try to make that distinction. And you know what? It's my show. And I'd rather, if there, I don't think there'd be an issue, but if there is, I'd rather do this and ask for forgiveness later on than whatever.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I say this stuff every day on my show. And if I all of a sudden, when I do a show with you, I pretend, well, migrants, as opposed to making a distinction there, I think people would just go, what the hell's wrong with you, Randall? I mean,
No,
what?
there is a migrant. To me, there's a definition of a migrant. And those are people that come legally.
Yep.
And it takes years. I've talked to those people many times, and it's a pain. It's months and months and months. And,
And they're
trying to get
aggravated that
approval.
other people just walk across the border.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was watching a blog with Jack Posobiec. He's on
I
with
love
Steve
him.
Bannon sometimes.
Yep.
And he was saying his wife is Russian and they wanted her sister to come for the wedding and she got denied. So it's
You
like,
should have just gone to Mexico and walked across the border, gone to the wedding.
right. Well, I guess there might be some risk to doing that, but
It is so, I love him.
yeah, he's pretty cool. Very smart guy.
All right. You good? David's good. You good, Barb?
I'm ready.
I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, I've heard you tell stories about people gaining access to other people's homes. Now, in this environment where we have over 8 million illegal immigrants who have entered this country, and we don't know exactly who they even are, now more than ever, people with empty homes should be concerned about squatters. How do you keep squatters from occupying your home during this selling process?
Yeah, Richard, that's true. And I think very much so the listed homes for sale because they know the utilities are on, it's snuggy warm in there. And once they get into it and they occupy it, it's very difficult to get them out. And we're becoming California, in my view. I mean, some of the laws I have seen applied here are really a problem. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about squatters. So I understand that there are some people that need to sell their home vacant, but it's a little bit safer to do it if it's occupied, even if it's occupied by a friend or somebody that needs a place to stay temporarily. There was a company called Caretakers that did that, although I haven't seen it in a while, where they would have somebody living in the home while it was listed for sale, just in order to keep an eye on it, essentially. And there was a video that came out yesterday, a story about this very expensive home in California. It's on the market for over $4 million. Beautiful home. And apparently these squatters excuse me. Apparently these squatters targeted it and broke in, changed the locks, created this fake lease and started having rave parties all the time, like 2 a.m, really loud. If you Google it, you'll see it's a Beverly Hills area, very expensive home around somewhere where the movie stars live, and they can't get them out. So in this case, the owner is incarcerated because he did something wrong. And I guess the state is kind of managing this property and they're trying to sell it to cover the expenses of whatever his legal challenges were. And so the state's paying utilities, the state's paying taxes. And so this one agent has it listed for sale for over $4 million. And he went and knocked on the door and says, hey guys, what are you doing here? I have this thing on the market. And they produced this fake lease. So somebody broke in the house and rented it to someone for $30,000 a month. Imagine making $360,000 a year, tax-free, doing nothing by breaking in somebody's home. And the problem is the court won't evict the occupants of the home. It's disturbing the neighbors quite a bit. And it's really a problem. They won't cut off utilities because tenants have rights. They've been in there since October. So it's 3 months this has been going on. And so what do home sellers do in that case? And unfortunately, it's the same here in Colorado. I had it happen to me on a home that was listed for sale a year and a half ago. The former owner had passed away. The family was from Arkansas. They came out, had me put it on the market. And I get this call one day. Oh my God, an agent was trying to show, she had a scheduled showing, and she goes to open the door, and these guys answer the door. She goes, "Oh, I thought it was vacant." And they said, "Oh, no, the owner let us stay here." And so my assistant called, well, the agent called the office. My assistant called me right away. I'm like, "Oh no, I know that's not true." So I went right down there, much to the objection of my husband. He's like, "Don't go down there. It's too dangerous." But I was upset, and I thought I'd just wait and see if the police officers came. They never did. These 7 occupants that were in this home scattered like rats initially, and then one came back. And he was like, "Oh, ma'am, the most valuable thing in my world is inside the house.
My
Will you put
gosh.
it outside for me? It was a leather coat." I said, "Yeah, but you better not come back because the cops are coming." "Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. God bless you," and all that. Okay, fine. So sure enough, a week later, they moved back in again.
Yep.
And at that point, I gave up. Now, what I saw after the first occupancy, when we went in the home, they actually broke a garage door to get in, but there were needles and chemicals laying around. But they were snuggy, comfy, using the bathrooms and the
Yeah.
showers, and it was so frustrating. But I'm like, okay, I'm not the police. Apparently, the police don't have time to deal with this issue. And the person, the estate personal representative is out of the state. So we've got a problem. And the fact that I could see the needles, it could have been methamphetamine, which contaminates the house. And then the worst thing happened. I get a call from Colorado Springs Utilities going, "Hey, your sign's up at the house and the water usage there is off the scale." Now, visualize this. It's a rectangle manufactured home in a neighborhood around here. So the square footage is about 1,800 square feet. The way those are built are with a crawl space below them, an empty space of about 6 feet deep. And they had cut the copper pipes and the whole crawl space filled with water, so much so that it was coming out the side. And Colorado Springs Utilities called me. And I'm like, okay. So I got on the phone with him and I said, okay. So he goes, "I went down and turned it off, but those guys are still there." I said, "Why didn't you lock it?" "Well, we're not allowed." And then I tried to call the utility company to ask them to shut off the utilities. And because I wasn't on the account, I couldn't do it. It had to be the executor who put it in their name. And so here was the problem. Now we've trashed the plumbing. Now we're suspecting meth. At this point, there's no equity in the home. I just told the family, I said, "We need to let this go. It's not gonna work." But I highly recommend you cut off utilities and those guys will leave. So these stories happen all the time. Richard, have you ever heard them?
I have, and I've heard the frustration because you can call the police, you can talk to the DA, but it's so hard to get somebody out of your home, and yet they're liable to be damaging it, bringing the value down, or you have to goof around legally with all this. That's why I tell people you cannot have somebody who is just learning to do this. You're better off to have Barb Schlinker because she's got experience dealing with this previously.
Yeah, and so what are the rules? So basically, it seems to me occupation is 9/10 of the law. So if these people move in and all of a sudden they have rights, whether they have the right to be there or not, a homeowner can't just go and kick them out. It's actually illegal for the owner of the property to make them leave without a court order. So you have to post a 3-day notice, then you have to get a court date, then you have to get a judgment for eviction, then you have to get the sheriff there to throw everything out. That whole process could take months. And that's assuming the judge allows you to repossess the property. I've heard stories before of the judge saying, no, they could stay for a while until they find a place. I mean, it's so frustrating. And I've heard this from multiple owners, especially of rental properties and things like that. So you can't self-evict, unfortunately. And there was a new bill that came out where they tried to streamline the process, especially to protect homeowners that were deployed for the military. And so, now that the market has changed and we have fewer bidding wars, if you end up having to have a vacant home, there's a lot of risk, especially now. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I'm also the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how to prevent squatters from moving into your home. And in the next segment, we're going to talk about things that you can do to prevent adverse possession. If you are thinking of making a move, we'd love to talk to you. We give a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. We'll show you some of the 27,815 buyers in waiting that we have that could be a good match for your home. And then we'll also go over all the costs and give you a good idea on how much money you'll put in your pocket when it sells. If you'd like to get that free in-home consultation, call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're talking about squatters moving into homes and what home sellers can do about it. What are some other things that a home seller can do to protect their property?
Well, Richard, if you have to have a vacant home, actually security systems have gotten very reasonable. We just put a blink system in our son's home that we partner with out in California. And it's not a huge home. It's kind of a rectangle, 1,600 square feet. But we put up 4 cameras, basically the front, the 2 sides. We didn't do the back, but anyway, it's enough to have a recording and to notify him on the app if anybody is coming around the perimeter of the home. And I think all by themselves, cameras actually can be preventative because these people don't want to get caught on camera. The other thing that's important is to just maintain your Wi-Fi there, keep a low-cost Wi-Fi thing because a lot of these systems are wireless and they need Wi-Fi to work. So I would do that. I actually had a colleague who became an agent, but she started off flipping, rehabbing homes really good. She is amazing at how she could take a floor plan and transform it. I was always impressed with that. I got to list her homes until she became an agent, and then she didn't need me anymore. But one of the things that she did for her listings, because many times she was rehabbing and putting brand new appliances in, and she had problems with her new appliances getting stolen, is she put up a Simply Safe system on every one of her houses. And she knew the moment a door was penetrated. One of the systems I like is Blink. Now, the reason why I say that one, and that's what we got for our son. And my husband and I were the ones that put them up. And just to put it in perspective, neither one of us are really all that handy. And it was easy for us. So if it's easy for us, then anybody can do it because that's not really our skill set. The other thing too is make sure you talk to your neighbors and just let them know there's a lot of great neighbors out there that pay attention to what's going on. And sometimes they will keep an eye on your home for you. And be careful about who you give access to. This story happened to me last year where one of my clients, basically we closed on the home early and the seller had post-closing occupancy for about a month after closing, but the first 2 weeks they were in the home, they moved away. And then they gave the keys to this estate sale company that was owned by one of the local big box real estate brokerages. And what we found because we had promised our clients that we were going to come clean the home before the buyer got occupancy, just so that there weren't too many frustrations, between buyer and seller at the finish line. And sure enough, what we found was that the estate sale workers had moved into the home without permission. They weren't even supposed to be there. They were supposed to be there just for the estate sale over that one weekend. But these people were living there. We found, the refrigerators had been cleaned out. We found wings and pizza boxes that were days or weeks old. This was a home worth over $1 million. Wow. So you got to be very careful about who you're giving your keys out to, because I was pretty upset when I got there only to find out these people had basically been given the keys, but the seller did not know that they were going to move in. But you want to, if it does happen, you have to go through the legal process, unfortunately, to get them out. You just can't go shut off utilities. It's against the law. So you want to make sure you talk to an attorney if it does happen. I think, I think the best medicine though is prevention. So put up cameras, make sure your neighbors are watching, maybe even talk to one of those programs that actually will put somebody in your home. That's what they call a caretaker while you have it for sale, because the days on market have gotten longer. So if you are thinking of making a move, it's very important that you get somebody that knows how to protect your asset. Get the 4 P's right: protecting your home, preparing your home, pricing your home, promoting your home, and of course, picking the right agent. That way your home doesn't sit on the market very long and become vulnerable. Can't say that word. That way your home doesn't sit on the market very long and become vulnerable to squatters. So give us a call anytime at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Now, this is one of the many reasons I recommend you, Barb, a trusted Navy veteran. When you're thinking about buying or selling a home, she is the go-to. I'm Richard Randall. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Barb Schlinker, the host of the program, and Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what buyers want in a home, plus the top must-haves for 2024. Stay tuned for that. That is a great segment. And because, there's only a certain segment, I guess, of people who would say, oh my gosh, that's something I've been concerned about. But I've talked with a lot of the people that are in your wheelhouse who are thinking about selling. And that is just, they're scared to death. I mean, my in-laws moved in with us, and, they were so fearful that squatters were going to come in there, because you see, not very often, but every now and then one of the TV stations will do a local story on it. And I'm like, gosh, this has got to be one of people's biggest nightmares.
Yeah. I've seen some people just move in, like the squatters move in and they just, change the locks and move in with them.
Seriously, geez. Well, and you were saying,
dicey, but I think it's funny.
Well, to me, and it's, you're thinking all these people are druggies and everything like that. But wait, this is, the estate sale. These people figure they'll save on, transportation and electrical. They don't have to pay for a hotel room. We'll just live there and we can go through this stuff and mark it up while we're there. Seriously? Well, apparently.
What about using the make by day law? Just
no man,
just
Well, you can do it if you're already in, but if it could happen if you go on vacation.
Yes.
So then what? I would just get a locksmith and go move back in.
I think that, and the problem here, or what I think is, and it's just a huge problem. And that is, as always, the courts and the police and all of this, they side with the criminal instead of saying our default is to protect the current owner of this home.
Yeah, it's a nightmare story. And I think it happens a lot more often than people even report or know about, only because if the police don't show up, they force them into the court system. But if these guys are druggies, like the experience that I had, they've trashed the house. They've contaminated the house with meth. So time is not your friend in that kind of situation, I don't think.
I don't think it is. And again, I think, if you get one of these people who only sells 3 homes per year, they're clueless as to how to handle this, as opposed to, you've handled things like this before. You keep up to speed on all of this.
Well, they're probably running around panicking. Oh, what do we do? What do we do?
All right. Yeah, that's a scary one.
Well, if you don't mind, I'd suggest that for the next time you come on my show. I think that would be perfect to talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because it's juicy, and I think everybody's got an opinion on that. So,
right.
All right, I've got segment 3 here. I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. It's the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, we've been talking about the low inventory of homes and the high demand for homes in the area. Can buyers afford to be picky in this market? And what do home buyers want when they're purchasing a home?
Well, Richard, buyers are picky in this market. They know that homes are more expensive. They understand that. They know the rates are high. And a lot of them won't, even though it might look like a good buy on the surface, if the home needs updating, they will just pass it by. They are more critical than I've ever seen actually in my career. And you know what's changed with the whole digital with the whole digital age that's going on, where you've got social media, you've got people searching for homes on their smartphone, you've got AI, you've got plenty of information out there for both buyers and sellers to figure out, you know, what's important and what's not. Most home sellers kind of have limited either time or resource, or sometimes both. So if you're looking to sell, and you kind of need to know, what do buyers want? What improvements should I do on my home or not do? First of all, the buyer is the one that makes the decision, right? But some people don't need to do extensive rehabbing. Sometimes it's just a price issue, and sometimes it's very little that needs to be done to make it look nice. And I found a study that was done by HomeLight where they kind of did a research and interviewed some of the top agents in the country. At 98% of the agents are saying that there are very few bidding wars going on, which is true unless a home is underpriced. 92% of the buyers are pressuring the seller to lower their price or pay loan concessions. So like that story I told in the last segment about how they came in 35,000 low, and I had to prove that the market value was actually worth what the seller was asking in order to get them close to asking price. I think it's just kind of a perception out there in the industry that agents think that the market is soft. So they try to get a deal for their buyers. And then 53% of buyers are asking for inspection items. Just in December, I had a buyer that asked the seller to replace the roof for the sole reason that it was more than 10 years old. It was actually 10 years and 2 months old. And there wasn't anything wrong with the roof. We went out and got 2 roofers to take a look at it, and both of them said there's nothing wrong with the roof. So we went back to the buyer and said, hey, you need to find another insurance company. If that's their rule, that they won't insure a roof more than 10 years old, you got a problem, not the seller. So it worked out. We had to play hardball, and the buyers bought the house anyway. But overall, what do buyers want? So 92% of agents are saying that a kitchen is one of the best ways to appeal to today's buyer. But that doesn't necessarily mean a full-on remodel. Like I was in a kitchen last week where it wasn't bad, it wasn't glamorous, but what I saw, the thing that jumped out at me about this kitchen was that the hardware looked very dated, meaning that the drawer pulls and the cabinet pulls kind of had this color as well as this style that looked kind of like old country look. And sometimes just modernizing little things like that, in which you would spend less than $50 doing that, can make a huge difference. Another thing is kitchen appliances. Getting updated appliances really makes a difference, or having mismatched appliances makes a difference. Counters. So solid surface counters have been on trend for some time. The article talked about granite, but actually quartz is kind of number one in the buyer's mind right now. There's some beautiful granites and beautiful quartz out there, but you're going to spend about $4,000 doing that. Now, it depends on whether or not that counter is appropriate for the home. Like, is it enough to make it look fully updated? If you have broken Formica, yeah, you're going to have to do something, and it might not be that much more expensive to put in granite versus putting in new Formica. There are some Formicas that look like granite, by the way, that look pretty good. So it kind of depends on the price range of the home and what your competition looks at. I would look at both those things before you make that decision. And that's part of what we do. We sit down with home sellers and take a really hard look at what your competition is. What did recent homes that sold, what did they look like? And that will help you make that call. I had one client that just recently, their home was updated, but it made the kitchen look small. So they actually built in an island where there wasn't one, and it looks amazing now. It's a huge transformation, just adding that one little workspace with a beautiful counter and added storage. Also added storage for kitchens or anywhere in the home is a benefit. So here's the thing. Most of the buyers start their search online. I don't really know what the numbers are. I've met people that are way older than me that use their cell phone just like the younger generation does. So I would say a majority of people are starting on the internet and they're deciding whether or not they're even going to bother to spend their gas money to drive by this property. And that's why it's so important why photos matter. Only 19% of buyers contact an agent first before looking online. The average buyer looks for about 8 weeks. And the thing that's interesting to me is the typical buyer right now only physically went in and viewed the home in person. So when I first started the industry back in the late 90s, a typical series of appointments with the buyer, you would look at 40 homes. That was average back then. I think my record was like 125 on my buyer's count. I wasn't counting. But now, because of the image quality and the advent of the internet, most of the buyers are doing their elimination right there on their cell phone. So you have to make sure that you hire the agent that knows how to create that online demand. There was a study done back in 2020 where they looked at how much time a typical buyer would spend looking at a home online. And it was actually less than 57 seconds, sometimes less than that if you don't get the pictures in the right order or there's something that they don't like that will make them move on. So this is the order, and this is kind of what they would like to see. The outside of the home. That's why curb appeal is so important. The backyard and the view. That's why the backyard is so important. The living room, the kitchen, the master bathroom, and the master bedroom, in that order. So that is why it's so important that you get somebody that can really help you highlight the best features of your home. And most buyers really don't need a huge home right now. Some of the most important things influencing their purchase are basically the neighborhood, convenient to friends and family. Some need convenience to jobs, but there are still a lot of people that are telecommuting. And then, of course, affordability. Most people are getting financing. That's why we have to look at the historic sales, because we have to substantiate to the appraiser that the home is worth the agreed upon sales price. And a lot of these buyers' sources of down payments are either savings from the sale of a home, or sometimes a smaller percentage will get a gift from family. So I think what a home seller needs to do in this market basically is to actually have their home prepared. And what a buyer needs to do is to make sure that they hire the agent that knows how to negotiate for them. I actually just met with a seller in the past week, and they told me when they bought the home, they had competition, and the price they paid looked pretty high compared to other sales around you. And so I was asking them, did you put this provision in did your agent put this provision in the contract about, okay, I'll pay so much over the competing offer, but you have to show it to me. Did you put that in there? And they go, no. And the wife goes, I didn't trust her anyway. So it's really important, either if you're a buyer or a seller, that you pick somebody that has not necessarily years in experience, but volume and sales. That way they know all these techniques in order to help you buy or sell a home in the best way. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to your real estate. You're listening to your real estate voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you're interested in selling or buying, call Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about what buyers want in a home for 2024. What are some new trends that buyers want in a home 2024?
Well, I found this fun article online about what some of the interesting trends are right now. And I noticed this with some of my sales that some buyers are actually looking for what they call an accessory dwelling, meaning they need a space where mother-in-law, family-in-law, adult children could live there, or kind of, set aside just a little bit. I had a listing a year ago that was in Monument that was kind of configured like that. So it had a main level that had a bedroom for grandpa, the upper level had a master, and the basement level had a couple of more bedrooms. It was really laid out perfectly for that. And it was fun to see the bidding more on that home, even when the market was somewhat compromised. They also really, really like 58% of the buyers like outdoor improvements, nice decks, nice patios, a grill area, outdoor TVs, anything like that. And it's a little bit hard to do that in this environment, but anything like that that makes the outdoor space pleasant, because a lot of people enjoy the outside around here. Finished basements are also important. Now, not everybody has a finished basement, so I would not go and finish a basement to sell the home. But a lot of people will use it finished or not for bonus game rooms, guest bedrooms, or added storage. The other thing that buyers are really looking for is energy efficient systems like smart thermostats, energy rated windows, energy efficient light bulbs, and solar systems. Now, the thing about solar is a lot of people think, okay, if I go out and put a solar system and I spend whatever it costs, 35,000, I might get a tax credit that the buyer's going to pay another 35,000 for the home. And I haven't seen the data to prove that. I've been into a few discussions with some of my sellers going, I put solar in, it must be worth another 35,000. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, it's all square footage. Solar is a nice to have. It's kind of a pleasant thing that buyers like, but they don't want to pay for it, but they like it if it's there. And I don't know if that makes sense, Richard, but
No, it totally does. I understand completely.
yeah, I saw a system actually last week. It was really nice. I mean, it had multiple on the ground panels and these beautiful storage batteries. It was almost a really squared away off the grid type property. But what he said to me is that system cost him over $100,000. And he goes, there's just no way it's really going to pay off. But I wanted it, because he could basically.
Yeah.
And another important factor to buyers is making sure that they trust the agent that they're working with. Because not every agent is the same. Not every agent knows how to help their buyers. And it was funny when I was meeting with this couple, they're buying a home, they're trying to buy a home in another state. And so I was giving them tips on how to compete against this other buyer. And they got a big kick out of it. I'm not getting paid for it or anything, but it was just kind of fun to kind of overhear what their conversation was and go, ask the agent if she said this, and they really enjoyed it. So if you are thinking of making a move and you'd like to get tips on what to do and what not to do to command top dollar for your home, and then I'll go over all the similar sales, what your competition looks like, give you a really good idea what range your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, the host of the program, and Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making that move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. When we come back, we'll be talking about how do you know what price your home will sell for and Barb's hot new listings as well. Stay tuned for those. Nice.
I'm going to take a short break.
All right.
Okay.
You too. I don't know. Yeah. And they just think it's a boneheaded idea. And it only lasted one day. She got so much pushback on it. I'm like, well, good. Don't come up with stupid ideas.
What idea was that?
I ain't registering my dog.
Oh, did you hear
Oh,
about that story? Yeah. I had the person who ran against this Democrat who suggested that was a great idea. And I'm like, you know what? It's not a great idea. And the person I brought her on, she knocked on 5,000 doors, Rachel Stovall. And so I asked her, I said, well, you knocked on 5,000 doors. Did any of these people that you knocked on out of the 5,000 say, oh, we need to have a tax on pets and fish and all this stuff? And I knew the answer was going to be no. It's, gosh, they are so off the beaten path, these people are.
it's pretty funny to me.
It is. Because if you had an aquarium, Barb, and you had 10 fish in it, you get taxed on 10 fish. It's not, oh, well, the aquarium, you do that. No, no. Each fish has to be registered and you pay a tax on it. I'm like, oh my God, as if we're not taxed enough already.
Turning into California, I'm telling
I
you.
know, you're right.
You know,
That is exactly the kind of thing I'd expect out of California.
they're doing it anyway, like for rabies. You know, you have to pay and update your rabies records on dogs anyway.
That I did not know.
Yeah, you have to pay for rabies tag or something. So
All right, I've got a new
county
clock.
will mail you a notice.
Life is kind of hard for most people. They got a ton of things going on. And, as a politician or elected official, you ought to understand that and start prioritizing what people do or whatever. I mean, I was not surprised at all that that thing lasted for one day because even Democrats are going to say, wait, you want to tax my dog, my cat, my kids have a gerbil? You're going to tax that too? Yep. Nope.
And they got people to answer the door. First of all, there's no way I'd knock on 5,000 doors.
I know. I know.
God, dangerous.
And I mean, I really like her. I spent most of my time when I was working in the last election making phone calls for her because she's, I don't know, she's good stuff, I guess is what I'd say. All right. I got a new script, a new clock. I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
We'll count it down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is the host of the program, and she is your real estate voice. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, a lot of people go off those automated valuations like they see on Zillow to try to determine what their home is worth. Many people don't trust those online valuations, and often the data, like a home size, bedrooms, bathroom count, is inaccurate. So how does a home seller know how to figure out their home's value and where to price a home to get the very most money out of what for most people is the biggest investment of their life?
Well, Richard, I don't know how Zillow positioned themselves as the expert in real estate about home value, but a lot of people don't know that both Zillow and Open Door lost $1 billion overpaying for homes and then trying to go on and flip them. $1 billion is a lot of money. And I remember, during that, especially 2021, that's when Zillow kind of figured it out and stopped buying homes. Now, if you go on the Zillow site, go, oh, want to offer here? They're connecting to Open Door. And so, but their offers are much lower than they were. But I remember going on appointments and meeting with would-be home sellers that had already submitted their home to Zillow. And they said, oh, well, Zillow offered me this much. And I looked at them and said, you should take it, because I knew it was more than what the market could command. And so once that happened, they probably didn't change their quote value. They call it an algorithm, which is some sort of super secret formula on how they come up with home values. But many times they're not accurate. Many times the data, the size of the home, the inclusions of the home are not accurate. Many times the amenities in the home. They don't know how many improvements you put in your home or anything like that. So it's kind of crazy to go by that. You can look on Zillow. You can also look on Realtor.com and put your address up in there. They have consumed every address in the tax records into these websites. So if you go up on Realtor.com, put your address in there and scroll down, it'll say real estimate or something like that. And it gives you three wholly different opinion of values, and the spread could be as much as $100,000. So they have no idea. That's why I think it's going to be sometime in our lifetime when it's going to be all real estate and all real estate sales and transactions are going to be solely on the internet. Because I know from our own experience, we went down and helped our son buy a home where he's stationed in the Marines out there at 29 Palms. And we were originally trying to find a rental property, but what a lot of the landlords try to do is they try to match the rent rates close to the housing allowance. But most of the military guys would like to make a small profit on the housing allowance that they're getting. So I think right now it's like 1,800 a month in that area. So of course, almost every place we saw for rent was $1,800, $1,900, $2,000 a month. And they were just junk. So I finally convinced my husband to let us, pitch in together and actually buy a home, something that's a little bit nicer. And we got a good deal on it. We did have to use Zillow, but buyers use Zillow as a way, and tenants as a way to go kind of screen out homes. So they might look good online, but then you drive and look in front of it when you're sitting right there on the street, and it's like, oh, no, this isn't even close to what I thought I saw in the pictures. So I think we're a long way off from it being a whole online business. I know that's what Zillow really wants, and they want to take over the real estate world. But I guarantee you many times they are way off as far as home values. So pricing a home correctly can mean the difference between your home selling for top dollar or your home sitting on the market week after week, buyers picking it apart and waiting until you find the right buyer and probably having to reduce the price to get the right buyer. And here's the thing, is that these days, because everything's available online, including the pricing history, the buyers will not even try to negotiate. They won't even try to drive by if they're finding other bargains out there that represent their budget. If the price is too high, because I get that objection all the time from sellers, hey, why don't we price it realistically? And they're like, no, we want to price it for negotiating room. And if you put in too much negotiating room, they won't even look at it. And so that's a problem. If they don't look at it, they're not going to make offers. But if you price it right, you're going to get more showings, you're going to get more offers, and having more choices as a seller is a much bigger benefit than having it sit on the market for a long time. And according to the National Association of Realtors, if you don't price your home realistically, probably within the first 30 days of being on the market, and you have to slowly walk the price down, you're actually going to net less money. You're better off being priced out of the gate correctly. So let's take a look at pricing issues. So in general, if you price your home too low, you definitely will get offers that are low. You'll get some offers that are at asking price, and some will get it and they'll see that other homes around are priced higher, and this represents a really good deal. So they'll come in and make their best offer. So you will get, if you price your home too low, a bit of a situation where some buyers are going to come in and asking and think that you will accept that. You don't have to accept any offer. That's another myth out there. People think that they have to accept any offer, and they don't. In general, pricing a home realistically versus optimistically gets you the most money. Now, why do, even in today's world, some homes get bidding wars, some homes sit on the market, and it really is about how to position the home to get the most amount of money. Buyers, of course, care about affordability and payment. They're already out shopping for the home that fits their budget, and they're looking for certain things. They're looking for neighborhood, size, price range, all kinds of things. So last Memorial Day, I had fun working with a ex-Marine infantry officer and then subsequent CEO. He was real tough, very direct guy. And when I sat down with him, I said, look, I recommend you price your home realistically versus optimistically. So we looked at similar sales. Similar sales for that home were between 645 and 700,000. They priced at 650. Now there was nothing wrong with the home. It was in good condition, had updated kitchens and bath. It updated it back to open space, nice lot. But the 700,000 comparable sale was a lot more updated with tearing down walls and spectacular mountain views and the whole thing. So we didn't think we could compete with the 7. So we priced it at 649,999. We had 40 people attend the 1-hour open house. And I was able to sit down with them on Memorial Day and present about 7 offers. So this is where it got fun for me. And I thought the seller was having fun, but he didn't seem like he was having fun. I said, okay, here where we are. We've got 6 offers. The highest one is 660, but they're willing to pay 680 if you have another offer within 2,000 of that offer. And then we got another one at 650, willing to pay 720 if you got another offer within 5,000 of their offer. And I said, isn't this fun, Mr. Seller? And he looked at me, he goes, no, I asked you to get me the best price. And I'm thinking, wow, I was a little intimidated at first. I'm like, okay, fine. So I went back to both buyers and said, there's a lot of offers on the table. Yours is in the running, but the seller really needs to know what is your best and highest offer, because it's possibility they'll go with the other offer if we don't get the best number out of you. So the cash buyer at 6 that was willing to go to 680 bumped it up to 700, and the buyer getting a loan went from 720, bumped it up to 740. And he took the cash buyer only because he felt like we weren't sure that we were going to get an appraiser to agree that it was worth 740 or 720 really. And he goes, it seems like you're just wallowing around in the mud to the end, and then you're going to closing. I said, yeah, it's pretty much like that. It was really fun working with him. But he didn't think it was fun for some reason, but he did get $50,000 over asking price. And that was a blast for me. But at the end of the day, it was all about pricing the home realistically versus optimistically. That is the key to everything. So that's part of what we do. We sit down with you. We take a look at what the similar sales are. That the purpose of that is to support the appraised amount. If the buyer's getting a loan, we compare apples to apples, just like an appraiser is going to do. I've been to appraiser school in past, but I didn't want to be an appraiser because it was, I don't know, it's too much detail work for my brain. And we also look at the competition. You want to put your buyer's hat on. Right now, many of the newer homes are having to face competition of new construction, and the new construction sellers are coming in with huge incentives, as high as $41,000 to help the buyers with improvements on the home, like adding AC or something like that, or buying down the interest rate. So pricing realistically, no matter what the market is, always works very, very well. And right now, with the average days on market being at over 106 days, you need a good agent that really knows how to help you do that. The other thing that is really, really important is that if you have condition issues, you want to price it on the low side of the market. I had a gentleman I sold last fall where he was facing having to put in a new boiler system and new air conditioning, and he just didn't have the resources, nor did he want to do that. So he goes, I just want to break even and get out of this. And I said, no, I think you can do better than that. So we priced it. It was a Broadmoor home in the low 5s. It sold for $35,000 over that, and it went as is with no repairs. So he was happy as a clam. So those are the kind of things that we help our clients do. And you can tell once you're on the market whether or not your price is on target or off target. If you're not getting very many showings, you're probably 3 to 5% off. If you're getting showings but no offers, maybe 2 to 3%. If you're getting offers, you're within 1%. If you don't like the offers, or if you are getting offers, you're right on target, basically. So I've had all these examples recently, even with the rates going high, where I had the buyers make the right decision and their homes sold a lot faster for full asking price And that is the key. Sellers control the price. And if you have deferred maintenance like carpet, flooring, some of the cosmetic stuff, don't think the buyers are just going to assume that and accept that. And they won't even like it if you give them a credit, because people are very visual these days, right? They want to see fresh carpet. They want to be able to move in and drop their stuff. Even if you haven't updated kitchens and baths, that's okay as long as your flooring is good. I think it makes a big difference, because we know that 41% of buyers will pass on homes that need work. So that's part of what we do, is we give our clients an in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale. So you get all those key rooms right, that we're presenting the home to the market right at the right price. That's the way you make the home selling experience work really well. So if you'd like to get one of those free in-home consultations, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
So we are at 13 minutes now, approximately, and there's a couple more pages on this. Or do you want me to go ahead and do that bridge to the other pages on valuation, or do you just want
No,
to?
we'll just go right into the hot new listings.
That's what I was thinking. Okay. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, host of the program. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. And you got it. Barb isn't, and you've got it. Barb always loves her hot new listing. So Barb, what's coming up this week? Tell us more.
I have a great home on 35 acres with a massive detached garage barn at $379,900. I've got a great home down in Fountain. They're getting ready to adjust the price here shortly, in the upper threes. Another one in Fountain in the mid fours is just beautiful. A fantastic townhome in Briargate just reduced their price to $320,000. A gorgeous home in Glen Eagle on Palma Valley that they're in the process of updating carpet and bathrooms. And a great home on Gull in the mid sevens out in Peyton, and another one actually on a Cowie Way in the mid sevens out in Peyton. We also have a few more coming. We've got some sneak peek homes. So one of the things I'm offering right now to our potential buyers out there is to get them insider access to homes that we have coming up that might represent a good deal for them. And you can get insider access to all of our coming soon homes by going to barbhasthebuyers.com. Click on the button that says insider access, and we'd love to share those with you. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Airs every Saturday, 11 o'clock. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. And remember, you can see replays of this show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Has the Buyers, or listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms, Apple, iHeart, Spotify. Thank you for listening. Reach out to Barb again. Give her a call at 719-301-3900. Barb, you stay warm, stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.